Hello everyone, we're here, and this is the Ellen Muth experiments, because it could be a verb, or it could be an adjective, or no, a noun or a verb. Anyway, we're finally going to be roasting some beans today. Now excuse the lighting. I've heard from a DP and a gaffer that the worst type of lighting is overhead lighting for women because it casts shadows, and that's exactly what it's doing to me. But oh well, it's not about me, it's about the beans today. We're roasting coffee beans with something or some things that everyone has at home as long as you have a kitchen and you are a human being. We are not using commercial or home roasters. We're simply using a pan with a flat bottom and a lid that fits it properly and is, when I say airtight, I don't mean, I just mean it can't have a valve that lets the steam out. It has to have steam. One of the important things about beans, or most things that you're roasting or cooking, doing them on the stovetop is one of the biggest pains because there's no way of controlling the temperature of the beans or the pan, and beans are very finicky with their chemistry and color, and the temperature control is so important when you're roasting beans, and it changes the beans so quickly. It'll seem for a long time like nothing's changing and none of the color on the beans is changing, but then all of a sudden you'll hear that first crack, and then it'll go from the first crack into the second crack, which brings it to a dark roast, or you'll get to an espresso roast, which we're not doing today. We're just doing a medium roast, which is a city roast, if you will, or a full city roast. And we're going to be using, what I have actually, is El Salvador Loma La Gloria Belvedere, and it is a washed process, which means it's just done in regular water in the barrels like they do. And the cultivar, which is the breed of bean, is bourbon. It has nothing to do with the alcohol. It's just what they call this particular breed of bean. And bourbon is it's a very general, classic type of bean. You'll see it in almost every blend that you ever have or have tried. This particular, I usually get beans that are only one cultivar, but this one is also A-2818. Most of the time the El Salvador cultivars have a bunch of letter and number combinations as opposed to just easy words to say, like the bourbon, for instance. I always use single origin beans. The problem with blends, unless you're making them yourself and you know the bean, and I'm going to try to make this the most simple and straightforward video because it's the beginning. We're not even using home roasters yet. So instead of getting into all the processing and how complicated beans can be and the roasting processes and with professional roasters or home roasters, I'm going to try to make this as straightforward as I can without going off on tangents, but I kind of see myself going off on tangents. Anyway, this is a single origin bean. As I was saying, the problem with blends is, well, first, they're usually not very good because they take the most cheap beans that are usually not of a high enough quality to be in with the specialty coffees such as single origin, micro lot. This is a micro lot bean, which means basically it was made from beans that were all grown on one particular lot, and that one lot also happened to be a very small lot. So all of the beans are going to be as closely developed, grown, and alike as you can get, basically. Single lot, single origin are the same thing, but single lot is one step better because it's not just single origin, which means it all comes from one place. So if you say, I have a single origin bean, you're basically saying, I have a bean they all come from Brazil. If you say a single estate, that means that you have one bean from one country and from just one estate, meaning one plantation. So the beans that you have are all from the same plantation. And as I said, single lot means that they're not only from the same country, the same estate, but they're also from the same lot that this specific bush that grew these specific beans were on. Now, they go even further into types of beans and how you differentiate, but we're not going to go there today. So I'm using a gas grill. So what you need, by the way, is you need raw beans. Obviously, they can't be roasted or it's pointless. And I will show you what the beans look like. And I'll give you some names of places, websites, which you can go to in order to get raw beans. And you'll be amazed and excited when you find out how inexpensive it is when you're roasting your own coffee to get the best coffee, first of all. And then you also get to have a little fun while you're roasting them. I will say, even I'm a seasoned roaster when it comes to roasting with machines where there's a very specific formula, temperature and cooling wise. Cooling of the beans is so important because if you don't cool those beans down at the moment you want them to stop roasting, you have to have an extremely strong and sufficient air pressure or some type of cooling system to cool down from the inside of the bean out, and the inside gets the hottest as opposed to the outside. And if you don't cool them down right away, you're going to immediately take it up to espresso roast when you're using stovetop. So anyway, we don't have a cooling system doing this at home like this without Jesus, is difficult to do without a home home roasting machine. Yeah, that doesn't work. Okay. There you go. That's what raw beans. So what you want to do is start off with a high flame. I'm actually going to first of all, you're going to take your beans. I have a little left in this bag. The way I actually even tried using the stovetop was because I'm visiting my parents in Connecticut. So my home roasting machines are all in Pennsylvania, and I've really missed both my geisha beans and just home roasted coffee in general. It's just so much better than any type of roasted beans, even if they're single origin. There's like one roaster that I actually like his beans, but he's very scattered about when he ships, and so I never know if it's going to be a week or 2 weeks or maybe a month, and so I don't know if I'm going to be here. So I thought I'm just going to try to roast some green beans on the stove and see how well I can do it. The color is a little off once you roast them. The color of the bean on the outside looked okay the third time. I burnt the first 2 batches, just being honest with you, that's what it's like. And the place blew up with smoke. so open windows, and also you need a vent. I hope you have a good stovetop vent. But anyway, when I went to grind the beans, they had almost a gray color to them. Obviously, they should be brown, dark brown, but these had almost a gray appearance, which made me think that because using the stovetop doesn't roast from the inside out, which the home roasters are usually meant to do, and that's why they like to use a lot of steam and the actual heat lamps. But where was I going with that? Yeah, so anyway, you want to, now you want, the one thing that's very important is that you don't do more than one layer. Like, don't fill more than the bottom of the pan. You want to separate the beans so that they're all touching the bottom of the pan. That way they'll be distributed evenly, and you won't have some that are still raw and some that aren't. Now, I have some beans that I already roasted on the stovetop, and I'm actually kind of impressed with myself this time because they came out the most uniform color I've ever done. Because, as they say, in TV time, we just don't have a half hour to stand here and roast the beans until they're done. However, I probably will stand here and do that, because once you start to roast a bean, you can never stop. Excuse me, I dropped a bean and I don't want to waste it. Once you start making a YouTube video, that will be my dad. I'm making a YouTube video. I'm making a video!
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was Dad. Say hello to Dad. Hi, Dad. Okay, so, sorry about that. Strangers in my video. Good thing you didn't see him. He has no shirt on. Okay, so we're going to turn the burner on. Again, I have a gas stove, which is actually much better than electric for this particular project we're doing, because electric takes a lot longer to cool down the burner, whereas with the gas, we can turn it down and the temperature immediately goes down. Once I have to turn the vent on, I'll probably show you how the beans looked when I was finished, and end the video, because I'm not going to obviously make you stand here or sit there and watch as I just kind of move the pan around. I am going to pick you up now and show you exactly what I'm doing. So, turning around, and that is not what I want to be doing. Hang on a second. Okay. Learning as we go, people. Okay, sorry guys. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't turn the camera around. Why won't it? I'm so sorry, as I said. Alright, well, so much for that. Let's see if I can make you see the pan. Now, what you want to do, that's how big my flame is. As of, this is ridiculous. Why can't I turn the camera around? Alright guys, I'm sorry. I can't show you this, so I'm gonna try to show you what they look like right now. As you can see, they don't have, well, as you can't see, they don't have any color yet, obviously. But you want to do this like you're making popcorn, so you want to constantly be moving it around on the burner, because you can't have any beans that are roasting faster than the others. You have to evenly disperse the heat as evenly as you can anyway. And if you get to a point where you hear a crack or something that sounds like a pop, then you want to turn the flame way down low to almost no flame at all. And then the other thing you want to do is to keep moving them around as you're roasting them, and I shake them as such in order to flip them. You can also obviously flip them with a spatula. Okay. So it's pretty straightforward, as I've said. So, as I mentioned, it's going to get hotter much faster than it will get cooler. So, you don't want to keep checking them because you're letting heat out every time you take the lid off. But like right now, I'm checking them and I can already see there's a little chaff in the pan, which is oh, that's the first crack, but there's still a lot of green beans in here. I'm glad we got that. Did you hear that? I hope you heard that. That would be called the first crack, which means that the beans are beginning to pop open in the middle. You know how there's like an open sort of line in the middle of the flatter part of the bean. When you hear that popping sound, that's when that has popped open. And the chemistry is obviously beginning to... Ow! Don't do that. Be very careful, because the pan gets very hot, obviously. But now that we've heard that first crack, they're going to start to get darker much faster. And so I'm actually going to reduce the flame now to nearly nothing, because there are still beans in there that are green, and the reason they're so uneven is because I've been standing here talking to and playing with the phone trying to actually get a picture of this. Let's see. You can see the flame is barely there, and I'm gonna turn the vent on, which Oh, now that I'm turning the vent on, actually, as you can hear the cracks, I should probably say goodbye, because once the vent is on, wait a minute, once the vent is on, you're not going to be able to hear me. Okay. So we're going down to, like, nothing. As low as you can go before turning it off is where you want to be. And I should be moving this around. That's why they're so uneven. I will show you the beans I did earlier. They're pretty good, huh? Pretty symmetrically colored. If I flip them around, you can see they're not half bad. They still need to sit. That's another thing. Once you've roasted beans, you want to let them sit so that they continue to process. And I'm really serious about this, actually. If you try to crack them or roast them and then just brew them, you're going to have very little flavor. It'll just taste like regular ground coffee that you bought in the grocery store. Let them sit either in a Ziploc bag or in the pan, but off anything hot with the lid on for at least 12 hours, if not more. It's best, they say, to wait 24 hours. If you're going to wait 24 hours, then put them in a Ziploc bag. Oxygen is the #1 enemy to any coffee bean. The longer it sits and air, oxygen gets to it, especially if you buy pre-ground coffee, which I never suggest, the more oxygen that gets to the bean, the quicker it goes bad. They say don't keep a roasted bean for more than 2 weeks. I say as long as it's airtight, sealed, about a month could be okay if it's home roasted. If you buy it in the store already roasted, you don't know when it was roasted most likely unless it says on the package. So if you buy it in the store, 2 weeks, or if you're really not a coffee connoisseur, then you're probably not watching this. But if you really like your coffee and you can really tell the difference in tastes, then I would say after 2 weeks, get rid of store-bought coffee. And if you buy pre-ground coffee, go get a grinder and start buying whole beans, because they're much better and you'll definitely notice a difference. And this burn really hurts, so now it's time to move on to my aesthetic playlist and show how to treat a burn. Alright guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me as I stand here with the burner on, but the beans off of the burner. It's okay, it's only a gas stove giving us carbon monoxide. And hopefully you'll join us again soon, or join me again soon, and I appreciate you watching this. Take care, have fun, and I will leave a list of links to places where you can order green whole beans, or raw whole beans. I have hundreds of pounds in Pennsylvania, but I'll have to think about whether I can find time to actually mail individual packages. I probably could if they're not roasted already. We'll think about this. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye, guys.